Here's the cover. Can he do it? Kick out at 2.
You are wrestling fans, and we are the degenerates that like to talk about it. This is Kicking Out at 2. I am Michael. With me, as always, is Tori. Hey, Tori.
Hello.
Today, we are going to do an AEW double shot. We're going to do Dynamite and Rampage from this past week. Dynamite was a really good show. It was another one of their branded shows, though, and I know how much you love those. So the tagline of this one was Dynamite Championship Fight Night. So all the championships were on the line, which little bit of a misnomer there because they weren't. Because we started off with MJF versus Takeshita,
The theory was
championship eliminator match.
I think it was more all of the champions had matches, as opposed to all of the championships were on the line. Because it wasn't. They weren't on the line. It was just like the MJF and Konosuke Takeshita tore it up. That was so good.
Such a good match. So in this night, we see women's world champion Jamie Hayter did an eliminator match with the Bunny. The Elite were set to have their first defense of the World Trios title against Top Flight and AR Fox. AEW World Tag Team titles were on the line between the Acclaimed and the Guns. And then Bryan Danielson took on Roosh for his chance to have the Iron Man match at the upcoming pay-per-view.
Did the Elite not defend the titles against Ethan Page, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy?
So that wasn't a title match. That was just a
okay.
trios.
I was thinking it was. That's why I was like, how the fuck is this their first defense?
Ricky Starks also had his Garcia Guevara gauntlet. But we start the night with MJF versus Takeshita in a title eliminator match.
So good.
That was a really, really good match. Action-packed opener. The crowd loudly behind Takeshita. If Takeshita had won this, he would have gotten a title match next week on the program.
The El Paso fans were like, it was like we were in Philadelphia or something. Like, they were on fire all night.
MJF was victorious in only his second match in the last 2 months. A lot of talk from Tony on commentary about how he's not a fighting champion. Nice little digs he was doing there for that.
Tony was trashing him the whole match.
Yeah. It opened kind of fun too, because Takeshita put his hand out to shake MJF's hand. And of course, MJF it was the other way around. Yeah. And so Takeshita went out to shake it. Excuse me. And then he got sucker punched for that. So a lot of good wrestling between the two, though. There was a tribute to Eddie Guerrero in El Paso by Takeshita, who did the Eddie Shimmy before connecting with a frog splash.
Got a great reaction out of it, too.
Both men traded strikes until Takeshita tried a Hurricanrana, but MJF countered into a powerbomb on his knee. MJF clutched his own knee and ran right into a Blue Thunder Bomb for the 2, as Takeshita followed up with his pump knee. But MJF got a rope break. Takeshita missed the Senton Atomico as MJF sank in Salt of the Earth again, repositioned it, cranked back, and got Takeshita to tap. Post-match, though...
He was working that arm the whole match, too. He was tearing that arm up.
Post-match, MJF got his Dynamite Diamond ring from the ref, pie-faced him down, and then clocked Takeshita with it, busting him open. Bryan Danielson sprinted out, but the damage was done, and Takeshita was left lying. I've seen a lot of blowback on Twitter about this because it seems like every episode of AEW has someone bleeding. Some people a little weak stomach about that.
I guess I'm of the mindset that I understand what they're saying. It's a fair point, but usually when it's happening, it is effective.
Yeah.
it's not just gratuitously happening. Now there are like Moxley bleeds all the time. It's just his.
He bleeds so much that the camera catches him bleeding.
But it's one of those things that, like this, it serves a purpose.
Yeah, it served a purpose here. Do I think that they could have written that without it? Absolutely. He could have done more damage to the arm. He could try to snap the arm using a chair or something.
If we're gonna let him do it, let him do it. I mean, I was always a big fan of like ECW and the hardcore and people getting busted up. So I personally don't have a problem with it. I understand some people having a problem with it. I get it. But personal opinion, it tells us, if it's telling part of the story and it makes sense, okay.
The only issue I have with it, and I can explain it with Mox. So a Mox match now to me is not as impactful. He bleeds. Because he bleeds every match. So eventually it starts to deaden the impact. I have seen Takeshita bleed, I don't think, ever. So that's fine. That was more impactful, but
you make a fair point. It is a fair point about Mox because it seems like every singles match he has, it happens.
But it's what it is. I don't have as big a deal with it. There's been a lot of controversy about something else that happened in AEW on the Jericho cruise.
What happened?
Apparently there was a guy there dressed as Jesus.
It's Anthony Bowen scissored him?
Yeah.
I saw it.
I have no issue with it. Even as a Christian, I thought it was funny. However, I can see where that's kind of, okay, that's a line you decided to skirt there, didn't you?
But that's not an AEW event.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying, like, the people having flack about it, I get where they're coming from, because that is a very that's a line.
It's not like we crucified somebody. Oh wait, we've done that too.
We have done that in a few different matches of wrestling. Anyway, we end up with a video package of Samoa Joe. He's just talking about regaining his TNT title last week. He mentioned Wardlow wanting to take his TNT title from him. He'll take everything from Wardlow. Then we go to AEW Women's Champion Jamie Hayter with Britt Baker and Rebel defeating the Bunny with Penelope Ford in title eliminator match. I really wish they'd let Bunny shine a little bit more.
I agree.
She is really good in the ring.
She is.
I mean, she's not the best, but she is really good. So just giving her a little bit during the match would have been nice. She kind of got laid out with this one, though. Of course, we ended up with the clothesline, the Haterade for the win. Go backstage with Renee Paquette, who's with Tony Storm and Saraya, who call Hayter a loser. I didn't like the segment at all. One, because I think it was just a poor segment anyway, but also Leva Bates, who is one of the nicest, most wonderful people. They essentially bring her in there on camera just to punk her out, and then they spray paint an L on her back, calling her a loser.
I know
it's just a weird segment.
I agree, and I know we'll get to it when we talk about Rampage, but they're going to have a match next week against Britt and Jamie. You want my opinion? Put the rest of them around the ring. Make it a lumberjill.
Ones they've been punking out.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Absolutely would be fun. Lexi Nair is at MJF's dressing room. He says Takeshita wasn't a match for a generational talent like himself. This was a really good little segment, and then we find out later that the segment is he's talking about Liv Morgan. So very interesting. He tells a story about how in high school he got into a car accident with a girl he liked. She cracked her head on his windshield, and when met with adversity and the cops came, he switched seats with her to make it look like she was driving. He does make reference that maybe there was a little bit of um, oral pleasure happening during the time, which we have heard from various sources that the story is about 80% true. So good on you, MJF. Good on you.
I ain't mad at him for it.
Nope. In his life, there are winners and losers. Tonight, he'll expose Bryan Danielson for the loser he is. MJF said he's proud of being a scumbag. Just another great promo from him. I mean, just the way he delivers a promo is amazing because we get the story, and it's very much like it's story time with MJF, and he's telling a story with inflection, and then we end up with the punchline of "I'm a scumbag, and I'm okay with that." So a nice little ebb and flow to that little story. We get Ricky Starks, who defeated Angelo Parker to advance in the Garcia Guevara Gauntlet. Then he also beats Matt Bernard almost in record time.
Up.
Yeah, got a quick roll up on him. Which, if you're going to do that with anybody in the JAS,
it was perfect.
Perfect for Matt Bernard. Daddy Magic is the perfect one to do that too.
I love that kid. His character is great.
Yeah, both Garcia and Guevara come down. We don't know which one's going to be next. They were making last minute. Ends up being Garcia, which Garcia ended up defeating Ricky Stark. Ended up being a weird situation though, because it was by the help of a masked man. Got in the ring, hit a juice effect. Come to find out it was Chris Jericho. Both Guevara and Garcia acted shocked that he was down there. Obviously, this was all planned in with. Not too many times where I say, all right, Jericho's done a thing too many times, but how many times are you going to put on a mask and act like somebody else? Get involved in something.
And then on Friday night, he called himself El Ocho.
Yeah. So, I think it could have been a better ending. I mean, you had both Guevara and Garcia out there. You could have had Starks lose without doing that little shtick. Or just have him come down. Like,
I feel like they're trying to make Jericho Starks a big deal.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's not. Because Ricky already beat him.
Yeah. Which I think he even actually mentions in a promo line correctly. I've already beat you, but I want to take everything away from you. They claimed her backstage with Renee. Daddy S says he's going to stay in the back for the tag team battle match as Castro approved, but Bowens was a little hesitant before asking Daddy S to then scissor. Renee is now backstage in the trainer's room with Takeshita and Bryan Danielson before they hear the door lock. Rush's music hit. Rush then makes his way to the entrance. As MJF walked out soon after, he berates Aubrey on the way down. Hey, sweet cheeks, we need to talk. Da, 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 da. He says, hey, Brian's not here, so I need you to go ahead and start the count so he can forfeit this match. And she counts slower than I've ever heard anybody count before.
Look,
with him in her face. Faster!
Don't play with Aubrey. Don't play with Aubrey Edwards. No. She's like, no, fuck you. I'll count it, but I'm not in a hurry. I'll take my time.
I love the snake eye she's giving him the entire time she's counting too. She's just staring at him. 1, 2.
She could have counted to 40 in the time it took her to count to like 7.
But so then we see a camera go backstage. Danielson bursts through the door. Mentioned by I want to say it was mentioned as that it was his bad shoulder that he
shoulder first. I was going to say he went through it shoulder first.
But out there was Preston Vance and Jose, the assistant. Then try to attack, which he ends up taking out Vance. The assistant is being held by Takeshita. He books it to the ring. He gets in the ring, and they have an amazing match.
The match was so good. Rush is so good.
He is. And we just had the little conversation about blood. This is one of those that had elevated the performance.
It made sense.
Specifically, like he's busted open and they do that spot off the apron. And when Daniel lands, blood from his face splatters onto the camera. And it was like, that was a shocking moment.
And they left.
Yeah.
Okay. Still runny nose. I have to blow my nose. Keep going.
Okay. So just to get to kind of the end of the match here, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. I'm not going to go beat with this match just because it's too good. There's a forearm battle between the two that had nearly 20 back and forth headbutts as Roos tried another comeback, German, but Danielson, landed on his feet and hit another psycho knee to win. Absolute classic. MJF quickly hit the ring though, and then clocked Danielson with the dynamite diamond ring, and then locked in the salt of the earth before he was attacked by security guards. 3 of these guards couldn't get MJF off of Danielson. So then we go backstage to Tony Schiavone, who's backstage with Brian Quinn and James Murray from Impractical Jokers. They have stated that they found Jericho's little bat. Get into more about his little bat when we go over Rampage.
This is legitimately blah, blah, blah. Why are we doing this?
So, since you're back, one thing that I should say about the match with Daniel, I think that should have been the main event.
What was the main event? No, it shouldn't have. No, it shouldn't have.
I think we could have had the Acclaimed match in place of the Bryan match and the Bryan match at the end.
I don't, just because of how it ended. Just because of how that ended, I think it needed to be the main event.
Okay.
Because otherwise, that's how you're talking about the rest of the show.
Yeah, maybe. So that leads us to the Elite, Don Callis, going up against AR Fox Top Flight. Another amazing match. Like, something about these 6 dudes. They have amazing chemistry together. It's always a good match. There was a little spot at the end between AR Fox and Kenny that I could see eventually AR Fox and Kenny having some one-on-one matches. But towards the end of it, Fox went for another low main pain on Nick in the corner, but Omega cut him off with a Snapdragon off the ropes. Dante wiped out Omega with a flying lariat as Matt ran wild with super kicks and a standing slice bread. Fox then charged, but then was dropped with a assisted more bang for your buck. Nick, with the help from his brother, hit a moonsault to the floor to wipe out Top Flight, as Omega hit Fox with the V-trigger and a Dr. Bomb for a 2. Another V-trigger and a one-winged angel attempt, which Fox rolled through for a 2. Fox and Omega traded pin attempts before Omega ultimately got the pin. So just kind of some back and forth pinnage there at the end of it. The way he locked in that last pin was really kind of cool looking, because he literally kind of slipped it around where he hooked between the leg and the arm at the same time and kind of crossed them both, making it so there's no way he could have kicked out in a real attempt. Lexi Nair is backstage with Stokely Hathaway, who said there are no cracks in the firm. All the problems stem from Hook, who walked up behind him. The lead up to him walking behind him was great because he was blaming everything on Hook. Everything was Hook's fault. W. Morrissey has his first loss because of Hook. Ethan Page has a loss because of Hook. Matt Hardy's around here asking for a raise because of Hook. Then Hook stands up behind him. Nair pleaded for Hook to let him go, as he told him to be cautious of his work. Stokely's going to get his ass whooped. That leads us to the main event, the Guns against the Acclaimed. It was a decent match.
The match wasn't that great. The ending is why I say it had to be the main event.
Yeah. So towards the end of this match, Bowens tried a discus forearm on Austin, who pulled the ref in front of him. The ref bumped outside. Austin hit a quick draw on Bowens, grabbed the title, but Billy Gunn then hit the ring. He was pulling up Bowens, and I think the idea here was to make it seem like, is he helping Bowens or is he helping his son?
Right.
But so goes to hit him with the title. Billy Gunn catches it, tells him he doesn't need to do this. Bowens hit the arrival on Austin. Caster hit the mic drop, but there was no ref. Colton then sent Caster into the railing as Colton also broke up the pin attempt by the groggy ref. Bowens tried a roll up, but then was sent to the ropes and he was clocked by Colton with the title belt. Austin got the pin. Ref slowly counted 3. The post match that you're talking about. So post match, the Gunn stared down the Acclaimed and their father from the ramp as the New Chance music just awkwardly stopped. Caster and Bowens and Gunn stood there until the Acclaimed music played and then ended the show, which was kind of really weird.
It was just the fact that they lost, that the Acclaimed lost the titles, which I don't. That's some crazy booking to me.
Yeah. At least not without that swerve. Like if Billy would have swerved it, then I'd get it. But like at no point have any of the Guns shown me that they should be able to beat.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It just, you'd have been talking that all they would have done is talked about this the rest of the show.
Yeah.
That's why I say this had to be the main event.
I see what you're saying. To me, it definitely wasn't the best match of the card.
No, it wasn't, and I'll agree with that. But for what it was and how it ended, it needed to be the main event.
Yeah. Obviously, though, Danielson match of the night. Maybe the Takeshita MJF. Maybe
the Takeshita MJF was really good.
Yeah. Which is good to see because again, like we're going to be in an odd territory. MJF matches usually long, not that technical.
Yeah.
Him having a good technical banger against Takeshita.
Yeah.
Gives me hope.
Well, and it's one of those things that they keep having different matches for him. And I'm good with it. I'm good with the fact that they're showing different sides of the champ to make him more dangerous.
Yeah. And so he is. So I'm hoping that this will be just like another notch. As much as I'd love Daniel to get the title, I would. I think we're slowly coming up on Danielson having to be done.
Yeah.
So him having one good world title run would be nice.
I think Bryan Danielson wins it March 5th. Mm-hmm. Keeps it till whatever the pay-per-view is towards the end of the year and loses it then back to MJF.
Kind of keep between him back and forth.
Because I know Bryan Danielson said when his contract's up, he's not doing full-time anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He won't sign.
I don't blame him.
I don't either.
Like, first of all, he's got his daughter, he's got his wife, and he's got to watch Bree, because Bree's...
Should watch something.
Well, no, Bree's losing it. That crap of her, like, twerking on a pool table in front of a bunch of opposing fans was kind of... All right.
But it's one of those things that he needs at least one good title run, whether it's the AEW title, the ROH title. I mean, you can ROH champion and you're part-time anyway right now. So I think he beats MJF. I think he takes the title off him. I think that it's possible MJF wins that. If he does, it's going to be like a last-second cheap win of some kind. It's not going to be he wins 5-3 or no. It's going to be a tie ball game. The last couple minutes, MJF gets some kind of crappy win and then just runs away.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think it's gonna be a tie ball game. To me, it'll be interesting. Are we going to get wins, or are we going to like Sean and Brett this from there? No falls until the very end of it.
I feel like with it being MJF, he'll take a disqualification loss to do damage.
Yeah.
Which I've never understood why more people don't do that.
Yeah. Waylay him with
Take
a chair.
Disqualification lost, and then just beat the piss out of him, and then just pin him 3 or 4 times.
Makes sense. This leads us to Rampage. Sonic. Oh my God.
I said it's still real. It's still real to me. Damn it.
Right. We start off the night with John Moxley, Claudio, and Wheeler going up against Kip Sabian and the Butcher and the Blade. The Butcher looking a little different.
Shaved his head, trimmed the beard down.
Yeah, so I do agree. I think it was Tony Schiavone that said it's weird that he shaved his head and he looks even more menacing now than he did before. So,
right.
I definitely would not want to be anywhere near that man in a dark alley.
No.
Conspicuous as there was no bunny with them, so I don't know if there was a reason there or wasn't.
Yeah, it's possible she just wasn't.
Good match overall. Good news. Moxley did not blade during this match. Which would have made sense though, because he's fighting the Blade. So I guess this time he won. Oh, towards the end of the match, I know, horrible joke.
I'm gonna need you to put a in the middle of this.
Claudio launched Yuta to the floor onto the Butcher. Sabian tried to do a springboard on Claudio, but Moxley caught him with a cutter. Claudio then finally caught Blade with the pop-up uppercut and got the pinfall with it. I'm glad he won with that. Like he's tried to put that over so many times, and like to me, it makes perfect sense. If you launch someone in the air and then uppercut them in the jaw, it's going to knock him out.
That I was gonna say that, and Moxley's cutter when Sabian was coming off the ropes was really nice.
It was really good. And then he, like earlier in the match, he hit like an out of nowhere cutter, and it looked really good too. He just kind of he looked around real quick. It was almost like a Randy thing. Like he looked around for a second and then just grabbed him and popped him.
He's filling in because Randy's still hurt. He just was like, "Hey, can I jack your move?"
Hey, was just seeing on Twitter earlier the guy, one of the guys that makes the boot. A lot of the guys, Randy reached out to him, make a new pair.
Really
interesting. Darby Allin and Sting cut a promo. Allin says he's not going to challenge Samoa Joe for the TNT title again because he promised that if he lost the title back to Samoa Joe, he wouldn't do it. He also promised to have Ortiz's back because he had back a few weeks ago. Sting said he and Allin are going to go out in a blaze of glory. I didn't care about anything that happened. And then we get like Thelma and Louise shots of them in a convertible staring at each other lovingly. I don't know. It's weird.
It's dumb.
We find out that Renee is going to speak with Adam Cole. Actually, she spoke to Adam Cole Wednesday. They did show a little spot of it revealing that Cole said there's a lot of people that he would look forward to matching up against in the future. Tries to get some names out of him. And he goes, no, I'm not going to say any names.
I definitely think we're going to get a face run out of Adam Cole.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's a face run. And it makes perfect sense because right now we've got Britt Baker very facey right now. So have them both be faces.
Yes.
Makes sense. Ricky Starks still wants to take Chris Jericho down several notches, and he will start with Daniel Garcia. Garcia versus Starks was made official for next week's Rampage later in the show. So
Garcia
apparently we're still doing that.
Garcia didn't even walk through, and we still had a Rampage special.
Two of the Impractical Jokers came to taunt Chris Jericho with a stolen bat. They make a lot of small bat jokes. I guess that's funny. Jericho comes back to them and says, well, I may have a small bat, but he's got big balls. Just FYI, I was watching this with my son in the room. He thought that was hilarious. So,
I'm sure he did,
big
but
pop for 16-year-old boys.
and that's what they're shooting for with that joke.
Yep. But he says that he's not going to go over there and take it himself. He's got some people that are going to take care of that for him. And then the JAS come out and beat down the Impractical Jokers. I don't know what the purpose of this was for. It was a segment that happened.
Yes, that's all it was. This was a segment that happened.
Lexi and Air interviewed Dustin Rhodes. Abandoned warehouse for some reason. Why you were in an abandoned warehouse all of a sudden? So the idea of this, to me, and apparently to the Wrestling Observer, where I'm getting this transcript from, that should mean that no one interrupts this, right? Because who else would be at this abandoned?
You would think.
However, Rhodes focuses on Swerve, who wears a Doritos logo on his chest. He says he likes Doritos. Rhodes then says he may like Doritos, but he will not deal with Swerve tarnishing his name. He hates him. Then Swerve's crew shows up at this abandoned warehouse, and then puts the beat down on him. And
It's apparently not an abandoned warehouse. There's like 7 people hanging out in the rafters. What the hell?
So, Swerve Strickland and Dustin Rhodes was made official for next week's Rampage later in the show. It'll be a good match. The setup to this was really weird, but it'll be a good match.
The setup was weird, but the sad part is Dustin's in his 50s and can still go.
Yeah. Him and Sting, man. I don't know where they found that fountain of youth, but get Ruby Soho against Marina Shafir, which this really confused me because we were just pushing Marina Shafir not too long ago as like a badass stopper, and she got handled by Ruby.
But she's been pushed that way, but look who she's been pushed that way against. And I think they're still doing this whole thing with her and Vicky and Nyla and Vicky. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just really weird. But Soho headbutted Shafir quite a few times, and then hit Destination Unknown for the pinfall.
Isn't Destination Unknown just a Sister Abigail? Same thing.
Yeah, it's just a Sister Abigail with a little more torque. Pulls him a little further. After the match, Tony Storm and Saraya came out to call Soho baby girl and recruit her for the Ladies World Order. But Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker ran in and they started brawling.
I'm sorry, did they call it the Ladies World Order?
We're reviving here. I don't remember hearing that.
We're reviving the LWO because I don't think that's what it was called the first time.
They're broken up by a gaggle of officials. Excalibur then announced that Soho versus Storm versus Baker for Dynamite.
Oh, that's right. It's
going to be a good match.
We'll get the tag match on March 5th. I like I said, I think it needs to be a lumberjack match, lumberjill match. Let's put all these women these two have tortured on the outside, and the couple that may have their backs, and let's make it interesting.
Yep. Lexi and Air then tried to interview Mark Briscoe, but Mark Sterling interrupted because Lexi can't just have an interview. She just can't.
This whole thing was so good.
Yeah. But so Mark Sterling comes off to offer Briscoe his services. Briscoe politely declined, saying, "No, I think I'm gonna go on my own for this. That's fine." So Sterling then called him a stupid chicken farmer, which if you've watched any of the Briscoe stuff, you don't do that because they're not just stupid chicken farmers. Before Briscoe could destroy Sterling, though, Josh Wood stepped up to remind Briscoe that he's not in Delaware anymore. We do hear from I don't remember if it was Tony or not, but mentioning that reference is because they used to face each other back in a Delaware.
They have a past.
Briscoe versus Woods was made official for Dynamite later in the show. Jungle Boy Jack Perry then had a match, if you can call it that, with Ryan Nemeth. It's good to see that that's a family trait, that we just put them in matches and
putting people over, making them look good. Yeah, it's
because that's just what happened here.
Following those footsteps.
After this match was over, though, after Jungle Boy obviously beat Nemeth, Brian Cage and Prince Nana came out. They did reference that apparently they've had past. So it was like a Rampage special without being a Rampage special. So Perry and Page were announced for Dynamite later in the show.
They have had this match 2 or 3 times, and Brian Cage has not won any of them. Why are we doing this?
I don't know. During this match, I was having like an existential issue because this man was fighting Chris Jericho for the world title not too long ago. And now he's beaten Ryan Nemeth in a minute and fighting Brian Cage for the 3rd time.
It just doesn't make any sense.
We had a very odd interview with Renee Paquette and Hangman Page. He asked, first of all, why are you always the ones doing my interview? Are you happy about the way last week ended up? Because I ate Moxley's ass for the last 2 minutes, and I'm what?
You're thinking about a different movie, not the match.
What you do to Moxley for the last 2 minutes? But anyway, so apparently he's just pushing for them to have another match. But they're interrupted by Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, and her rotary phone purse.
That purse is great. She tried to offer Claudio, I think it was, the phone during that triple threat match, that 6-man.
Sabian got beat up by Moxley earlier, but he isn't crying about it like Page is. Page left before he beat up Sabian. Later in the show, Page versus Kip Sabian was announced for Dynamite Wednesday. Yeah. Jon Moxley and Claudio will take on Roosh and Preston Vance in Texas Tornado match Dynamite Wednesday as well. Also, MJF will be contractually obligated to appear. Jim Ross will have a sit-down interview. Hello. Gonna have next week planned out already. The next match, we have Orange Cassidy with Housen going against Lee Moriarty with Stokely Hathaway to retain the All-Atlantic Championship.
I'm going to back you up for a second. This whole contractually obligated thing with MJF, why do they keep bringing it up that way? She just said the champ's going to be there. Why are we making this that he's contractually obligated? Are they trying to make a point of the fact that Roman never shows up?
I didn't think about it that way. I was thinking it more like he always complains about having to be there, and so that gives him a reason of, I have to be here. I don't want to be. But I mean, a little jab at Roman not being around, that would make sense too. This match, I about nodded off a couple of times during this match. I love Orange Cassidy. I love Lee Moriarty. But there was just something about this match I could not get into. So we end up with a distraction. That distraction allowed Cassidy to hit Moriarty with the diving DDT on the floor. Cassidy came back with a diving DDT in the ring. Moriarty then dodged the orange punch and hit a lariat out of a hammerlock. Cassidy came back with a beach break. Cassidy finally hit the orange punch, and he was slow to cover. And Moriarty caught him with the Border City stretch. Cassidy tried to get to the ropes. Moriarty then tried to roll Cassidy back into the center of the ring, but Cassidy countered with a cradle and got the pinfall. After the match, Satnam Singh came out onto the stage to distract Cassidy and Danhausen. Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal ran in from behind and attacked them with the Golden Globe. The Best Friends tried to make the save, but were late as well. Jarrett was out to break a guitar over Cassidy's head, but the Acclaimed came in to not much of a pop and made a save.
I noticed that, but it was also the second or third time that night their music had played.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a weird, why are you coming out thing.
Bit of news, Rampage is moving to 7 p.m. next week.
Saw that 6 p.m. Central next week because of NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yep. So them having a bit of an earlier time slot, I wonder if they'll try to take advantage of that, put as much as they can in that first hour.
I would.
So we'll see. Decent show overall. Like I said, like I don't want to take anything away from the two guys in the main event, but I don't know if it was the chemistry that was off about it for me or what. But I couldn't get into it.
It wasn't anything spectacular. It wasn't bad.
I did like the little back and forth at the very beginning because they had the little fight over the glasses,
right?
And that was fun. But once they actually got wrestling, I don't know. I tuned out and didn't.
Have you looked at Orange Cassidy's entrance video when he walks in? What's playing on the screens behind him?
Just like
it says, like insert action shot here. Like
oh no, I don't.
Like the template for a entrance video that he never filled in because whatever.
Yeah, I've never seen that piece. I've seen where it's like just like it's white background, Orange Cassidy freshly squeezed written on it.
And this may have been new, but I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, the character's amazing. I don't think it lends itself being a good like championship contender or a champion in general. I look at him and I see Santino and I see, and the man right here was Dude Love. Like I see that stuff.
You see a middle of the card character.
Yeah, something that's just it's more of an attraction.
Yeah,
to use a Bruce Pritchard term.
I agree.
So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just they're trying to put him in high profile matches, and I want to see just him being Orange Cassidy. I don't want to see him wrestle. Same thing with Danhausen. I just want to see Danhausen be Danhausen and curse people.
Right.
Ricky Starks says, that Danhausen.
Starks is great.
So next week it seems to be shaping up pretty well. Looks like it's going to be a big night. I don't know if it's going to be a branded night because they got a lot of deep matches that are going to be on the card.
Yeah, they're just doing it earlier because the NBA All-Star Weekend. That's why they're doing it earlier. It's just for Rampage, so it's just the 1 hour they'll have it from 6 to 7 our time because we're on Central Time. But I mean, if I'm them, I would definitely try to make it a stacked card.
Yeah, as big as possible. Get as many people to see it as you. Especially if you've got that following you, because if you get some people to trail in the first like 15 minutes of it, waiting for basketball to start, maybe you can grab a couple extra eyes.
They definitely need to make the main event a big deal.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it needs to be a big deal.
So I mean, I don't know. What's their next big pay per view? You know,
March 5th, Revolution. So we've got several weeks to start. But the only thing that isn't known is Bryan Danielson, MJF. And there's nothing else announced.
Okay. Which I don't know. I mean, that's fine. We're far enough away from it that I'm okay with that being the only thing I know that's going to happen. But we'll see. Go ahead and close this out though, and look forward to AEW next week. Hopefully, we get some more, more interesting storyline. Well, we'll get the Adam Cole interview.
I think that'll kind of start giving him some direction.
I mean, honestly, I'm almost more into what Ruby Soho is going to do than anything else right now, as far as her being on the fence of being a new person in AEW, but also being someone who's had to grind to get where she is and has respect for the girls that did it. So definitely like to see what happens to that triple threat next week.
That'll definitely be interesting.
Yep. But all right. Well, thank you for spending your time with us here. If you're enjoying our podcast, please support us. Share this episode, share our channel with others. Follow and hit us up on all the socials down below. Come hang out with us on TikTok to catch all the latest from us. You can follow us right here on YouTube at Kicking Out at 2. Until next time, I am Michael, Story, and we will see you next one.